But we'll take it for here. And I do want to look at, once we go through your guys' games, we're like just way past the halfway point. At one point in the season, we were like, that's how we came about anyway. We're talking about Brentford. They're like, hey, they can make a run and stuff. And Alex poo-pooed it. So we went and found you as the president to represent. But what do you make of that game? Obviously, like I say, we talked about in the post-match and where Brentford is right now.
Yeah, it's a good game, wasn't it? It was really enjoyable, I'm sure, for the neutral. We fought really hard. We we pushed you right until the end of the game. It wasn't easy 3 points for Liverpool at all. You were made to really, really fight for every point you won. And from a Brentford perspective, lots of fantastic individual performances. For us, there were 5-6 man of the match contenders within our own team, which was great. Van den Berg, Collins at the back. Keane Lewis-Potter kept Salah relatively quiet, which not many left backs have done this season, let alone a converted winger. And then, midfield, Norgard bossed it. Damsgaard was creative as usual. And I think the frustration for us is we just couldn't get, as we mentioned on the post-match, we couldn't make enough clear-cut chances. We really struggled to make the breaks work, to make some of the nice intricate football work. We never really troubled Alisson throughout the 90 minutes enough. And then because we didn't get on the, on the scoreboard, I was sure, most fans were sure that, Liverpool were going to get a couple goals. Now, I said on this show last week that 0-0 was the only result it wasn't going to be. So I was shocked when it came, 90 minutes came round. And I was like, we got to play that clip back next week. Sadly for us, obviously there were a couple of goals from who else but Darwin Nunez, a added time brace. But, reflecting on it, really strong performance. We played very well against Man City as well. And I think our biggest regret is we only have 1 point to show from 180 minutes of really, really good quality Premier League football. And we don't really have barely anything to show for that. And honestly, that's been the story of our season against the top teams. We've played well against so many of you guys at the top, Arsenal being the exception when we were thoroughly beaten. And, we just haven't been able to convert good, strong performances going toe-to-toe with the big boys with actual points. And I think looking forward, that's probably where we are in the table. Our dominant home form is slightly slipped away now. A couple of defeats at the G-Tech, that kind of aura's dissipated. And, you look at our squad, you look at the teams around us, there's quality teams behind us and above us. And I think halfway through the season, mid-table's about right. Top half would be fantastic, but I think those European dreams are going to remain dreams this season.
But I talked way too much about Nunez today, so I'm not going to go into that. Let's go back on this over here. Leicester City 0, Fulham 2. Leicester City is going downhill even faster than I think when Root took over. Arsenal 2, Villa 2. So I'll be honest, Shay, when we finished the game the way we did and the way we won, I was like, man, this is a huge boost for Villa. Because nothing is more demoralizing than Arsenal thinking, all right, we win this game and we close the gap. And then they're like, shit. Like, even if we win this game, I figured that'd be demoralizing. They take the leads. What's changed? Is it Arsenal? Is it Villa that made the difference in tying that game?
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, watching that match, they dominated the whole time, the whole first half. I saw that first goal go in. I was like, here we go. This is how it is if we get down one, because we let in goals too early. A lot of the matches happened again today against Monaco, and we couldn't do anything. But once I got that second one, I was like, the normal 2-0, but then how my friend said when we were watching the match, like 2-0 is probably the worst lead in all of soccer because, you get lackadaisical. And then we get that goal 5 minutes later, and we just turned it back on, even though they still dominated the entire match. But it was just the perseverance that they had that second half. So I don't know what Emery told them. He probably said, hey, give me a point out of here so we can keep this streak against Arsenal going and ruining their title hopes, obviously. Just keep adding that fuel to the Emery hate. But it turned out to be better than I expected, just because I wasn't expecting them to, have the nerve to come back, just because the last few weeks away from home, we are not we've been terrible.
I wouldn't say optimistic. Maresca was proved right, I think, over the Christmas period. We are who he said he was, or we are who he said we were. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not capable of really closing out games. And we had a string of draws. This was really, or losses, draws. This was the first time we put 3 points on the board in quite some time. And it was also the first time in memory that Chelsea lost momentum and were actually able to gain it back. So I think that's progress. I don't think our chances are necessarily up. I guess it depends what your perspective is. I think getting in top four, yes. I think this is getting right back on track and giving us some confidence heading into the Man City game. Our wingers and forwards aren't necessarily firing all cylinders. So in order to beat City, I think we are going to need that. We had to rely on goals from defenders and Mark Cucurella for contributing. I think Wolves may regret just letting him have the ball because they thought he was just going to give it to them if they gave him the ball enough, and then he came back to put us ahead. And then Madueke made sure that Chalobah didn't score on his debut to win. I hate it when players do that. There's a good and a bad side, right? Good, make sure no one's going to clear it off the line, make sure it goes in. But I swear, more times than not, you see that the player is offside,
Yes.
and then the goal doesn't count. So I was like, "Don't you dare!" But thankfully, went in. I think we didn't play great, to be honest. Palmer was off; he was struggling with an ankle injury all week, so wasn't quite there. It was really good to see Trevor Chalobah back in the team. Wasn't sure he'd start, but based on the defensive injuries we have, he obviously did. Him and Reece James both pinged the ball around pretty well, used the width, and we were pretty dangerous on the wings. Madueke was dangerous without really looking like doing anything. One of those games. But I mean, 3 goals, XG of just over 3, Sanchez gift for Wolves. I think that ultimately we're never going to keep a clean sheet, it would seem. The only concern I have is injuries in the middle of the park. Even though Fernandez is worth half what we paid for him, he's a body who is used to Maresca's system in the middle of the park. I thought Dewsbury Hall did okay coming in, but Caicedo is playing 90 minutes every game and went down with what looked like a pretty painful injury. We don't have too many other defensive players, with Lavia having another injury, Enzo being out, and half our team being on loan elsewhere. So
I was going to say, good thing you guys have 50 people on the squad.
It seems like we're not gonna recall Santos because he's doing very, very well at Strasbourg and also has never played a Maresca system. And Ugachukwu, while he was part of the squad, he's now playing minutes for Southampton and playing pretty well. So it seems like we're just going to try and string it out, probably because we aren't really going to contend for the title. But